Yeah. So the thing is,
Yeah,
it's
we're live. Sorry, cut you off. My
yeah.
bad, bro. Yes, the thing is,
The thing is, oh, we're talking about generative AI, right? And so, given that name, it seems to say, look, it's generating something. And from what I'm seeing, and from what we talked about, is that these AI models, these LLMs, whatnot, what they do is they take from an existing database, existing information, existing corpus of knowledge that's out there in the world, and then they repackage it, refurnish it, and refine it, and take that and give it to you in a new and original way. And so, is that really fresh, organic, generative AI, or is it just repackaging what's already out there in a new and more, maybe more interesting way?
generally speaking, like large language models don't quote unquote repackage. More so, it's to the effect of like it needs to. I hate to use the word think, but it processes a query, processes a request based on information that's available. So if the idea from like someone like these top of the line folks is to kind of sort of imitate the human brain, you need to be able to give information to this, hyper algorithm to make sense of things. Give the whole great Western canon of works, the Eastern canon of works, Ibn Sina's, thing, um, whatever you could think of. So like that's the idea. Now it's like, all right, if you teach someone everything, and you don't ask that person a question, are they repackaging? The idea is to anthropomorphize a machine or anthropomorphize technology such a way that you could create the ultimate intellectual being. That's how some people have been putting it. So like when Sam Altman is on record saying he wants to create quote unquote digital God, when billah, it's like, bro, we're in Jahiliyyah all over again. I immediately thought of Umar al-Khattab feeling like like a fool as he shortly after praying to his little date figurine prior to him being Muslim, he goes, I'm hungry. He goes, I taking a small bite can't hurt. Taking another small bite can't hurt. And he goes, the next thing I know, whatever I prayed to is gone. It's in my stomach. It'll come out the other end soon. One of my favorite things from Umar al-Khattab, because it's just like, yeah. So that's the idea. Now, what's the reality of it looking like? You can see it's a bunch of nothing. Like Microsoft is, I'm digressing from your question, but we can see it's a bunch of nothing. We can unpack and talk about, what the reality of it is, the bubble and all that stuff. But think about it as instead of like repackaging, it's like you provide information to this thing, and then it does its best to make sense and connect the dots and to just say, okay, based on the query and the parameters and the language used, let me go reference all this material to provide an answer.
Yeah.
It's not like a repackaging from top to bottom, left to right, instead of using, just putting up synonyms. Now, the problem is because of the generative nature of these large language models, it'll present you information. It'll present you the information in a very authoritative way. Cool. Because there's also randomness to this thing, what they call hallucinations. And there's a debate deep in the tech space of like, oh, are hallucinations ever going to be solved? Like, do we fix that problem, or will they just forever persist? And it's starting slowly is fizzling out to two sides. It'll persist, and you're always going to have this problem of lying. So that's why, like the ChatGPTs or the Geminis, it'll say, "Hey, this can make mistakes. Please check." Well, it's like, why are we using this in the first place? Then just fix the search engine.
Mistakes.
Do you know what the hallucination is? It's the fact that AI doesn't know that it doesn't know. So therefore,
Exactly.
the answer, yeah. And not only that, but also I wanted to add something that I think we even talked about previously was even the way someone is asking the question.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can also influence the response that they get. And I'm going to go a little left with it real quick. Sorry if somebody has something to say, but I'm going a little left with it real quick. If we look at the internet, right? Let's say, I'm just going to use the internet as an example of where, you know, this information, they're getting this information that they're either regurgitating or reformatting and blah, blah, blah. But it's a lot of lies, right? It's a lot of lies. It's a lot of false information out there. It's a lot of Wikipedia. It's a lot of Reddit. And it's a lot of misinformation as well too. So not necessarily a lie, but also just misinformation or not the whole truth. All right, you get the point. So now you have this so-called smart tool feeding you stupidity, but the person asking the question is ignorant, and that's probably why they're asking ChatGPT, for example, and now they're getting a response that they think is correct, polished. Oh my God, this and that.
That was a huge problem at the beginning, because when AI overviews came out for Google, like on the Google search results, someone had asked like a thing about making pizza, and it said part of the ingredients is to use rocks, and Google stock dipped, and the company lost $10 billion with a B because of it. In the midst of training these models, to take that into consideration, Snowman, was they put in like checks within the processing. So it has all the information. Cool. Every website in the internet more or less has been scraped and copied and pasted onto a server somewhere. Okay, identity made sense of the process. They start to introduce guidelines to say, all right, there's this. How do you double check this fact? Put in references to links. Let the user use that to try to, add another layer of squaring off something. You rely on the user to click on the link that is provided. That's another problem. But because they need to be successful so bad, that's what they're trying to do to mitigate the stupidity that's on the internet.
Yeah, like you said, they need to be successful so bad.
Yeah, they do.
Honestly, it is a competition, and they know that, and everyone wants to be first place.
Yeah, you can also prompt it. I mean, yes, it does require intelligence from the person who's prompting it. You have to give it the right signals and the right language, because that can make all the difference. And we all know this, right? So if you were, let's say, you were trying to look up information, truthful, factual, as best as possible about some event or something, right? You should start by prompting it, don't just give me everything out there, but just give me credible sources, give me authorities on the subject, reference books on the subject written by authorities on the matter, stuff like that. So you can prompt it, and then it's also up to you to dig deeper. Like, because I did this one thing where I was looking at it gave me some articles from the news, and then it put something in quotes, and I remember that thing. I'm forgetting exactly what it was, but it was something like related to Trump, and I clicked on that Time article, and I'm like, this is not even in the article. It wasn't even there. And so I went back to the Chat GPT, and I'm like, you put this in quotes. It was not even there. And then it told me, it's like, oh, well, the essence of the article is in the quotes. So it gave me that.
Here's my PSA to the world: stop using Chat GPT.
No, but the thing is, like, it's here, and there's no. This is what I was saying, that I was in a meeting yesterday with a bunch of other teachers, middle school English teachers, and the general tenor and demeanor is that there's a lot of anxiety, worry, skepticism. All the teachers were just like, you know what, these kids they don't write anymore. They just plug it into the AI generator and they just give their essays. They don't feel like reading anymore. We can't really encourage deep thinking because the AI can do the deep and critical thinking for us now. And so a lot of the teachers were just really frustrated by it. And I'm sitting there thinking, and there was another teacher who kind of had a different view, and I'm sitting there thinking, like, dude, it's here, and to sit here, I get the frustration, and a lot of it, honestly, all of it resonates with me. I'm in the same boat. I teach these kids. I'm in the English trenches every single day. So the reading, the writing, the excerpts, getting them to think critically, asking them questions, having academic conversations, it's extremely difficult. Today, I was leading a session. We're trying to do read some academic excerpt. I don't want to get into that. And just like I couldn't get participation. I think they were just lost. They were just not present. But that's just a tangent. I said that in the meeting. I was like, dude, at some point, resistance is just futile in a way. These systems are here, and they're not all bad in a way. Like in a way, I think we're just kind of saying that, look, this is the end of critical thinking. This is the end of writing as we know it. Well, maybe, it's not as bad as we think, because these kids, let's say they're using AI now. Maybe they're going to go into a job where they have to use it, and it's part of their daily life. So why not train them at it, and they get good at it, and so then they can use it. And where's the proof and the evidence that people coming from our generation, our parents, elders, we're so much deeper, critical, analytical thinkers and amazing writers. We went through a different education system. A lot of us are dumb. Like, can the normal adult, like, what percentage of adults cannot read above a 6th grade level? And this is not this is not people from the AI age. It's our parents, and it's like our age and before. So as much we can bash this age and this generation and this generation's kids, as in like they're, they don't want to learn, they don't want to think, they don't want to do that stuff. And I get it. It's all frustrating for a teacher, but honestly, it's also in a way it makes things easier for us, because like they can just, they use the AI and they write their essay, they clean up the edges and stuff, they give it to us. And I don't really have to sit there and go through like a handwritten paper that is just impossible to read, versus, that's all on, it's typed and looks all right to me. I'm not as, I would say, frustrated. And I think that if you look historically, and this is going to, people have been resistant to new technologies. This is not a new thing, right? Like even as Muslims, like, all these examples of like when the coffee came around, people were like, oh, this is intoxicant.
Yeah, there was a fatwa from Mecca that said no. They said coffee was haram.
When the microphones came, when this came, when the speaker system came, and all this stuff, and it's like, at some point, like, you have to just come to terms, and the conversation should be, as opposed to resistance, the conversation should be adaptation. What are you going to do with it? And these models, as much as we criticize them, I know I'm talking way too much right now, but as much as we criticize them, they're making leaps. They're becoming better. I know they are immature. They are childish. Sometimes they make a lot of mistakes when you prompt them, and and it's frustrating. I get it. But at the same time, like, just think about that Claude, that new Claude that was released just a few months ago, Claude Opus. That thing was just a couple of years ago, just a basic AI assistant.
Do you have
right?
Claude Opus? Like, do you use Claude?
No, I don't use Claude, but I was reading and looking at stuff about it. And that now, according to the newest released one, what I was reading, that thing can do like complex engineering problems and stuff that would take normally somebody like hours to do. And so it's made leaps, and the progression, if it's like that, dude, they will be able to potentially patch up a lot of these errors that are surfacing. So now we can say all we want about, yes, it's problems, it misleads people, I have to reprompt it, but dude, the trajectory is undeniable. We could be having a completely different conversation a few months from now or a year from now. Like, these things are just like, they'll be incredible. They could be incredible. I mean, I know maybe that's
the pushback, like the criticism and pushback from that.
I know I guess I'm pushing AI like hard right now. I know, but but dude, like, look at the trajectory. Like, is the trajectory lying to you?
I think you're talking about a specific aspect. or a few specific aspects, you know, not in the grand scheme of things.
We could talk about everything, like the AI chips, the AI hardware, the in every field. I mean, right?
No, like, but dude, I see where you're coming from, and there's a lot of potential. The one, like, the biggest pushback comes down with like the finances, because what was it? Every so often, there's like a report that was coming from Microsoft or like Google DeepMind with MIT, how much just companies stop using this. And as amazing, as fantastic as it is, Nadir was saying, like, you're kind of right, Nadir, that it's like, it has its specialties like in coding and engineering, like especially Claude. Fantastic. Creative writing, also Claude. There's a lawsuit going on right now. I finished listening to the interview, where like Anthropic, the creators of Claude, settled for like $1.5 billion with writers and stuff, because they're like, yo, you misused our writing. You bought these books, you scanned them, you spit them into the internet. You think you could get away with it like Google did when they did Google Books in like the early 2000s. But nah.
It becomes a misrepresentation.
Yeah.
You know, which maybe changes the information or the message that's behind it. And
like,
that's
the whole thing. On my phone, I got to what was it? I had to remember I had to do something. So I have to like change my tires, and I had my appointment on Saturday. So like, how the heck am I going to remember to do this? So I did this screen share with the Google Gemini. I have a Pixel phone. I did the screen share with the Google Gemini, bro. It read this, the AI read the screenshot, put a description in the task with the phone number, why I should call these people, and it got the day and time for the reminder correct.
5.
I know. And it does that every so often. So it's, in like these special cases, yeah, dude, is it going to be like this all-encompassing endeavor where it's like going to revolutionize the economy, and we can go to like this non-socialistic form of universal basic income and God knows what else?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, like, there are potential. I think it was that guy, the Anthropic CEO, who's that, Amity or something?
Dario, I don't know the dude's last name.
I think he did put
Dario.
out something. There are obviously dangers associated with it, like, I wouldn't deny, but it goes back to what Nadir was saying about, like, it's all use based. How is it going to be used? Like, it can be used for like egregious purposes. Like, it could help entrench authoritarians. It can help, you know, it can help with surveillance and all these things that are problem, and AI in warfare, and the problems with that, right?
Stock, everybody.
So definitely, like, there are all those negatives associated with it. But at the same time, going back to the writing aspect of it, there was this article in the New Yorker where the title of it was actually kind of interesting, because the title was, what if people actually start enjoying AI created fiction? In the sense that, like, what if, it was prefaced like this, that the guy, there's this computer scientist, and he was trying to get ChatGPT to like copy this Nobel laureate style, and he basically fed it and like paint this scene, and in this style of this Nobel laureate, that this South Korean lady, and it did it, and a bunch of like creative writing people looked at it and they're like, this is like not that good. But then he redid it, but this time it was like putting in the whole kind of body of work of this lady, and so it had a sense of all her rhythms, her style, and her tones, her moods, her voice, and everything in there. And then it was shown to these creative writing people, and they're like, yeah, this is the incredible. And so it's like, this is the type of stuff, like, I know a lot of artists are worried, and writers, musicians, and I totally get that, man. Like, it's gonna, even music, dude, like, you can make artificial music that sounds like popular musicians.
Country music headline. It was like some AI generated song made it #1 to the country music chart.
Yeah, so like it's like this kind of stuff that I mean you can do, whether it's music, it's books, it's photography, it's digital stuff online. I mean, so much of it online is just like, and we talked about this the other day. Like, is there some reality to dead internet theory, where like
Yes.
bots are taking over, and with AI, like maybe more and more bots are going to be, because like that molt book thing. Did you see that thing?
Oh, like Claudebot?
No, it's like this. It's like social media for bots.
Yeah, I heard about that.
And basically, if you have that, imagine what that looks like down the road. I don't know. So that was just something
Those
weird.
are competitive spaces. I'm not really mad at that. You know why? Because if an author or writers are like, oh, maybe it has something to complain. Guess what? Let's say everyone was like, okay, no AI in the writing space. You still have your competition. You still have other writers. You still have other thinkers and things like that. So this is just another. If you're as good as you think you are, not saying that someone is going to agree and say, oh, I'm better than a robot or I'm better than AI or whatever. But at the same time, the person who sold the author who sold $1 million in copies of his books is not the only one who sold $1 million of copies for a book. So regardless, in the competitive space, I mean, it's just going to be, the competition is probably just going to be a little tougher. But at the same time, in the information space, the competition is kind of like blowing it out of the water, because I'm not a fan of Google. I'm just here just so I know what is the code of conduct to the company that I work for. I don't care about Google, right? But as far as like authors or something like that, no, like I like reading Goosebumps by R.L. Stein. You know what I'm saying? I don't care about what AI generates another Goosebumps imitation of a Goosebumps book. I don't really care because I'm a fan of R.L. Stein. I listen to Kanye because I'm a fan of him. So
Kanye West,
right? So
I have to interject on that. There's a professor, Ethan Mollick. This was a 2023 article on Business Insider. I'll put it in the show notes. He requires his students to use ChatGPT in his classes, and he'll do the strict grading to make sure everything is fixed.
He'll do the what grading?
Yeah, the what grading?
So, like, he'll be really particular about how he grades the art, like the papers that he's doing. And saying if there's no mistakes, so like the assumption is that I don't know how to, if he gives everybody 100 and then your mistakes bring your grade down, or if it's vice versa. But that's how he does it. This is a useful tool. Like he was saying what you were saying, Haroon, in the beginning, but he takes it a step further. He says, use this prompt, spit it into ChatGPT, and then fix it. And you'll be graded based off that.
So what I've been kind of doing is just going off of, all right, I have a certain structure. As long as you meet that structure, and if maybe I go through it and it looks all right to me, like, okay, 6 paragraphs, you got your body, you got your main arguments, you address the counter argument, conclusion is there. All right, I mean, pretty good. You should become equipped. You should come equipped with this tool, which you are likely gonna, it'll only benefit you. And I mean, there's so many things that like we weren't taught in school, right? That I wished maybe we were taught in school, like maybe financial literacy, just maybe even like parenting or things, and like all these things, like, and so that's kind of how I view it too. I actually kind of am thinking with AI in the classroom, we can harness it for good, but at the same time, like, yeah, it is what it is.
Where would you say your concern is, in what regard to using AI?
My concerns with like in the classroom, or just general?
Just in general.
Oh, kind of the things I mentioned, like uh, I mean these systems are gonna, as they're introduced, right? They're gonna make mistakes. So things like, okay, you wanna give your, you wanna put the keys to the side and give your autonomy to the autonomous vehicle. Okay, well maybe you can do that, but like how confident are you in that system? So there are also like fears, and also like I mentioned the authoritarianism and stuff. Can this stuff can be weaponized and used as you know, we're using it as citizens to do whatever we want to do. It can be used to produce content, produce things that could be harmful to the society. Obviously, it's
Don't
going
you
to be
have
used.
Twitter?
Yeah, X, Twitter.
Same difference.
Yeah,
The whole Grok thing that's happening, like the French are stepping into, there's like no French account will be on, French government account will be on Twitter anymore, because they're making it super duper easy for people to like create nudes of children and like sexually exploited
yeah.
poses.
Oh my
Mhm.
God.
And Elon, in his defense, is saying, "Oh, free speech."
Yeah, Elon is, I mean, we already know this guy wanted to be on Epstein's island, so this guy completely discredited himself just in these last few days. Well, actually, he discredited himself a long time ago.
Yes.
So, but yeah, the X is just a sewage dump, and just
Sewage dump, my friend.
yeah. I mean, it is all, when I disconnect and distance myself from it, I feel just way better. But going back to what I was saying, like I'm also thinking more so along the lines of like this is gonna also influence these great powers. Great power competition is gonna be huge, especially U.S. and China. They're gonna be pouring a lot of money into this. This is gonna be affect militaries. This is gonna affect their
It's already affected the military. That's how the Project Nimbus is the IDF project that they used, AI based, to find targets in Gaza.
Yeah.
Yes, and so like these AI weapons, AI systems that are going to be, so much money is going to be poured into this going ahead, and the competition is only going to accelerate. We know with with Nvidia and in China, who's theirs? They have their chip makers, right?
The
Like, but
Chinese?
yeah, this is
No,
like
one of the things it's like ended up being is another reason possibly for them to want Taiwan back is because TSMC, the world's best and biggest chip maker in general, is in Taiwan. That's what the T in Taiwan, Taiwan something
yeah,
manufacturing company.
that could be an incentive for them. But then again, they would still need to like harness the know-how. Like if they took it over, like the engineers in Taiwan, the people who have that know-how, how to manufacture and produce these semiconductors, what if they just, they don't have they don't have that, or they don't have the blueprints or something? So maybe not necessarily.
Xi Jinping is just as good as I do, dude. Xi Jinping is one of the
This
most
is why,
on earth.
huh?
Xi Jinping is one of the most biggest gangsters on earth, bro.
I mean, like you think he's gonna go there? He's gonna take it?
They're like some economists or like business folks were predicting sometime in like 2027.
For the semiconductors.
Yeah, take Taiwan back, both for strategic and for the semiconductors.
Yeah, I would do it for the chips too, probably. I mean, but anyway, the US did had these uh the US had these export controls on these semiconductors and AI chips going to China, and now they've loosened these because they're saying, oh, we want to be competitive in that space in China. So
like, what is this administration talking about?
they
You want to hinder the competition, so you open up the door for them to spend money and buy more advanced and capable hardware.
Yeah. Well, Nvidia market cap is setting records, so let's just keep that going up.
This government don't
Even an American company.
They just
Say anything?
The government don't plan for the future. They just want to benefit while they are in office. And cleanup crew comes in after me. And that's what it's been since before Clinton, I would say.
Yeah, that's true.
But at the same time, I think the competition right now is like servers that they're building. I believe 3 of them are currently being built. I think one of them is in Texas, but there's maybe Virginia or North Carolina. There's already construction people being hired for this role, and they're getting paid. I think it's minimum like 10K contracts, like a month or 12 or something like that, where it's $3,000 a week or something like that, set in stone for like not even like designers. I'm talking about just people who are bricklaying and building a foundation, like building a house, you know, building basically the structure that these server rooms are going to, you know, be in and things like that. And look, copper is sold out. Now everyone's saying, oh, gold went up, all these materials, and silver went up. Copper is like next. So if any of you stock people are out there listening,
this is not financial advice. Don't come after us.
It's not financial advice. Don't come after us. But yeah, so copper is on just to look into. Let me tell you what my concern is. My concern is as far, because I'm thinking about it one way. My mind just keeps going to this. It's basically like we're going to get to a time, probably sooner than later, where Muslims are going to be utilizing these tools to get hadith or to get an understanding, maybe like a fatwa or something like that, you know, and they're getting like
I'm doing it.
Bad information. They're getting bad information because even something as simple as, but I don't even want to go there. Before I say that, let me just say, like, for example, let's say during the time of the Prophet, right, where someone would ask the Prophet a question, and the Prophet would answer questions, not just give them a universal rule, but a lot of times it was based on the person that's asking, their personality, their responsibilities, you know, like the dude who wanted to go and fight in the army, and the Prophet said, go home and take care of your mom. That's your jihad, right? Or the guy who goes to the Prophet and says, can I, I'm not sure if he went to the Prophet for this one. This might have been after the life, but there was a guy where he's like, can I kiss my wife during Ramadan while fasting? And someone said, and the man said, no, you cannot. Someone else came and asked the same exact question.
This was to the Prophet's side, son.
Yes.
This was to the Prophet's side.
What's the difference? It's the older guy. It's the older guy who they said, yes, you can kiss your wife because you're
it's mature in the relationship.
It's mature in the relationship. You can know it yourself, and yes,
it's less likely
desires.
It's less likely that one thing will lead to another.
Right. So what happens with the whole AI thing, you know? Because even there was a documentary that I watched. It was a mini documentary about Mauritania, about the people who go there to seek knowledge, right? I watched this with mom a year ago. And it's funny because the guy who went, he was a Muslim brother from Egypt, I believe. And he was talking to one of the major teachers there who also is like a sheikh and things like that. And he says, do you know about AI or things like that? He's like, you know, I hear of these things and, you know, I understand how it works, but I don't use it, you know, and I don't teach people how to use it or I don't promote it at all. And then he goes, let's test it. The guy, the Mauritania guy is saying, pull out your phone, ask it this question. And then the AI responded with an answer, and all the Muslims were like, wrong answer. Like, it's the wrong answer. Even the sheikh was like, that's just a wrong answer, you know? And the thing is that what's scary is for the youth, you know what I mean? Especially because if you look now, there isn't so much conglomerate, you know, amongst religions. So you have debates going on, or you have debunking going on, or maybe someone as a Muslim, because, you know, one of our duties in this life is to do some type of da'wah, right? In whatever capacity you're able to do, right? And let's say someone wants to check you or see, or maybe take it upon themselves to just get more information, or they have questions about things they've heard. Everyone's heard something about Islam, right? So now they get this information using, you know, an AI tool, and it's like either it's wrong information or it's information that kind of takes them like left, you know. Even AI itself is biased.
Mhm.
It sounds weird to say, and but AI is biased. Even if you ask you can ask AI what what its opinion or what its thoughts are on a certain thing, like for example the belief of God, right?
Mm.
And if you want to even go further, we can look at that one video that went viral where the I don't remember, it was some white dude. He says, "Tell me a joke about a Muslim, a joke about a Christian, and a joke about a Hindu." And then in the end, it says, "Tell me a joke about a Jew." And then it responds, "Oh, no anti-Semitism. We do not do that. We don't make fun of like religion." And then it literally told AI like, "Hey, you guys probably seen this video, but hey, you just told me a joke about Muslims and Hindus and Buddhists and Christians. So why aren't you using the same standard?" And it just gave a programmed response where it just repeated itself. No anti-Semitism and blah blah blah, and this and that. So whether it's biased, it's biased not in a free thinker type of way, right? It's biased in a pre-programming type of way.
Yeah, it's the parameters that was sent, that I had mentioned earlier. If a company or even a designer, they want to limit or like control how the information gets processed, that's one thing. One of the things I learned from 2 years of watching social media posts in regards to Gaza was, Allah make it easy for them over there,
I mean,
was that even with like Grok, for example, you can feed Twitter anything, flood Twitter with pro-Palestine content, expose it all. And as biased as that Grok LLM is, you will force it to say the right thing.
wow.
Because remember, it's processed like Grok it's the data set that it has is not just the internet, but all the tweets ever recorded and that are still saved on a computer. So if it's going to process a certain thing, like a query or being asked something, it's to say, okay, we need to consider this and being woke and some type of politics. Okay, go. If this overwhelms the, being woke or something is presented as not woke, it'll accept that it's true and say, you got to do it. Perplexity is one that I use sometimes. And also, I think Gemini, if not Copilot, you have the option to quote unquote show thinking if you don't like the pro modes, and you should see how it reprocesses your query. You should try it one day. Put something in, go into pro mode or go into deep thinking, ChatGPT, whatever. Click on the thing, you did the little expansion, and you'll see how all the information gets processed. And they'll say, okay, processing, boom, you get your response. You can see the stuff like in live action. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I was also just thinking about is just, we get the LLMs and how they've kind of like infiltrated and inundated our lives, but what about in just what are things going to look like in the day to day, as in like we have, phone, we have our TVs, our our appliances, our cars, our just the day-to-day stuff we use on a regular basis, and the AI chips and all the technology that is about to be potentially not just that, but just new things that are about to be inserted into our lives. How are they going to alter our psychology, our brains, potentially rewire our brains, because now we know about like neuroplasticity and everything now. How is that going to rewire our brains and also potentially like create a disconnect where a lot of people become just discombobulated and they're not sure, even to a point where the distinction between like reality and your tech life, your life online, like you can it just gets blurred for some people, because like you put on that, what is that goggle thing,
Virtual reality VR goggles.
you put on VR, and even that can lock you into some space. And let's say your 9 to 5 job is that.
Yeah.
Like, let's say that is your 9 to 5 job. What if, like you take that off and it's like, oh, you're back to this starts looking unreal to me, because my whole life is in a virtual reality.
Yeah.
And that is just as real to me because I do my transactions on there. I'm living, I'm talking to people, I'm on like
Let's not be vague, bro. So I'm gonna like
do you see what I'm saying?
if
And
Zuckerberg and company wanted this to be a reality, it would have happened like 2-3 years ago when the metaverse was the talk of the town.
no, but we're talking about this. I'm talking like not obviously not right. I already was bashing AI. I'm like, this stuff is immature. It's childish. It makes mistakes. I totally agree. But if the trajectory, as we have seen, I mean, and a lot of these, I'm looking back at all these like sci-fi writers,
But I think
and
the market will get in the way of that.
as in like who is really going to fully adopt a lot of this stuff?
There you go.
Yes.
Because free market capitalism does not allow for this to become a universal thing. This is my argument.
Yes, that's where potentially they're saying like this whole AI bubble could potentially burst.
No. Different than the burst, because what's the term that I saw being thrown around and like some of the news things was circular investments.
Okay.
I invest $10 billion into you and I benefit from your thing, but then you take that same $10 billion and you give it to Nadir and he benefits off that $10 billion as well. And then I need help because I want to expand and create a data center. I need $10 billion. Oh, look, we're sharing this money. So this $10 billion gets spit around 3 times over. You follow? That's starting to have its holes and people are starting to question it. What's the effect?
Just like modern finance? Isn't this like
more or less
like money is like, okay, we'll loan it out. We'll loan it out here. We don't have it. Like
no, like the point that I was trying to make was that like when the whole AI, like when the thing happened, it's like, okay, you can be in a world and let's just say ideally the world happens like that. If you watch like Ready Player One or something like that, you tune in, everybody's using the same thing. If you zoom out still within that universe, you start to see there's 1, maybe 2 companies that are there. Those are considered monopolies and they don't, it's illegal in the United States. Regulation, FTC, FCC, we have all like these regulatory means to stop that from happening. Okay, if we are going to make this universe then a reality, there needs to be some type of interoperability. So for how many years the iPhone wasn't allowed to text the right way to an Android phone, so everybody got an iPhone because it had all these features, until Google's trying to sort of strong arm their way into the scene with RCS, and then the Europeans made it law. Apple got pissed off. They intentionally delayed products going into the EU, and that was that. So it's like, does Horizon Worlds meet with, by Meta, would that go into like, some other like small time like metaverse creating company? Can you jump from one universe to the next? Well, if you do, then you open up the door for like, well, people don't want to go to the thing, to the cheaper option. You get a race to the bottom. Everything becomes cheap until everything sucks. And that's what we're dealing with at the moment. Just everything sucks and it's just getting more expensive because you got to cut a corner somewhere. So I don't know if like this universal usability of it would happen, because it's like, okay, your company changes contracts, you're not using the Microsoft product anymore, you're using the Meta product. Why do you want to do it? Well, let's bring the contract back. What does this look like? Microsoft changes, something happens. There's just too many factors involved for this to become like this grand universal thing without some type of interoperability, which goes against this hyper capitalistic society that we work in.
True that.
Yeah, I mean, but it doesn't necessarily. Actually, we could think the opposite way. Forget about the people. I mean, it could just be more displacement, right? I mean, that's another way that things could go, because there were a lot of people, and there's that MIT thing I shared. It was on the, I think it was in the link or in the shared
CNBC.com.
Yeah, they're saying like they can already take out 11-12% of the whole labor force.
Yeah, that's what like coding stuff. You can try to sort of do that, but it's like,
so I mean, forget about like you, maybe forget about you and the goggles. Like, you might not even be needed, right?
Yeah, the Microsoft laid off how many thousands of whatchamacallit.
But I get, yeah.
In like 7 months, they laid off like 20,000 people, and they're all entry level folks, because they're just spitting this stuff into the machine, and the LLM gives them a response. A mid-level coder or engineer reviews it, and then it bumps its way up the ladder.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, your HR a lot of times and your customer service a lot of times can just be like, I mean, what? Robot.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you look now, every single one of us, everyone, old, young, we know what life is without AI and with AI. And we know who created AI. We know the bugs that, you know, they had to sort in order to get it to where it's at. So for us, like you were saying, Haroon, to rewire, right, or reconnect, right? The only reason why it's is because we know the reality versus virtual reality, right? So what's going to happen is that it's going to conflict with our current social norms, our current like just way of life and things like that, and just operating and things of that nature, because you have people who are 40-plus-year-olds still in the workforce and they're not interested in AI because it's so far away from them that it's nothing that they grew up with. Even us, right? I'm 36, so like I'm before YouTube and smartphones, right? My first smartphone, I was in my 20s. My first regular T-Mobile cell phone, I was already 19 years old. First cell phone. That's weird, right? To a lot of the people are listening and things like that, right? So what's gonna happen is, how does what is the I guess they need to advertise this to the youth because they're up next. So now what's going to come next to the people next is they're not going to need to be rewired, reprogrammed, reconnected, or anything like that. This is just, they're already wired. This is their norm, right? So that's going to be their norm. That's going to be, you know, there's no resistance to it because that's just normal to them. There's going to be no resistance to it, and they know that's coming. And the laws, right, to get to what Omar was saying, and then companies, you know, maybe beefing with other companies and laws and things like that. The laws are in place now because they're trying to balance two different worlds, right? But it's going to change as well too, because the laws are going to have to. You know why? Because the government's not stupid. They're going to be using this tech for surveillance, for example, right? And things like that.
We signed that Palantir contract already.
Yeah, I understand that, but it doesn't matter. We're going to get another Ed Snowden who's going to say, yeah, that's what they told you and what you thought. But these are the biggest liars, manipulators, cheaters in the world. And like DMX said, always expect a snake to snake you. Right? So that's beside the point, right? That's beside the point. But yeah, so that's going to be like a norm for a lot of people and things like that, and they're not going to know, right? This is we're ancient history, right?
Yeah.
So with that said, Snowman, because you put up a very good point, bro. What then? So like, just to, you know, it's like we transition towards the end of this of the time.
The era.
Like I had. Huh?
It's gonna be a new era. It's literally going
to
be.
It's like the strong potential to be a new era. There's the link that I shared. Like, I don't know about you guys. The only one that I've seen of like a quote unquote Muslim response to AI came from Yaqeen.
I seen two.
I looked at that briefly.
Outside of Yaqeen.
The other one.
What's the other one?
Get to your point. One of them is One Faith Foundation.
One Faith Foundation.
I think so. I think that's what it's called. They're pretty big. I think it's called One Faith Foundation. Actually, they even brought on 2 years ago the guy who works in Silicon Valley, Muslim brother.
No, this is different than a social media. This is like a thought out ethics of AI. What do we do about all these things? Like all what we're talking about.
Yeah. So that whole conversation was about that. And then there's another one.
Not a conversation. Because they're around. There's
like,
the Muslim. They interviewed the sister who screamed at the Microsoft guy. Ittihad.
Yeah.
You know, she was like, Mustafa, you're Syrian. Why are you doing this stuff with the IDF and all these other things? They're in the Golan Heights. They're in Syria. You're providing them with machines and tech. What's up?
Cloud computing. And
what was your question though? My bad. Or
so
what were you?
Like the Yaqeen link, the Yaqeen articles, they ended up hiring that girl, like the sister, Ittihad. It's a thought out saying, hey, This is what Muslims need to do in response to AI.
So
Boom, 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 boom. Not a conversation. Here's a game plan. I'm thinking, I don't know. I have just someone
I have a
knows
good
it.
one. I'll share it with you guys. It's by someone that I really enjoy listening to. His name is Muhammad Ali, and he is the Muslim Lantern. And 6 months ago, literally 6 months ago, he came out with like a 40-minute video. Even some of the points that I've shared, like about, people getting fatwas and having multiple responses. He's mentioned stuff like that too. Actually, real quick, I want to mention something that he also mentioned that just came into my head now that I thought of it. The Prophet tells us a time where ignorance is going to be vast, right? It's going to be very common, right? And that's the thing. So you're just going to have this tool, right? And you just got away from research. You're going to have this tool. But the main point that I want to get at is after that is when the liar will be viewed as the truth teller, right? And that one right there, when he was talking about that, I was absorbing that. It just hit me, and I was like, wow. And sometimes you think, right? So, like, for example, right, the end of times, we're going to go back to like sword or whatever. It's not going to be like no weapons. And in my head, I'm like, how would we get there? Besides, like, because I don't think we're going to have a nuclear war where we're going to destroy each other's defense systems and things like that. And now it's just going to be, okay, boots on the ground, front lines, I think it's going to happen in like a more unique way. And I'll think the same thing about a few things. Like when the Prophet, for example, has said, it's the people who are telling the liars will be like, it's like they're telling the truth, and those who are spreading the truth, they'll be viewed as the liars, and that's going to be with AI is probably going to play an early factor in that, I guess, prophecy, if you want to use that word, or prediction. And that's probably going to be like an early eye opener to those, prophetic predictions and things like that.
Where you come from, but you ain't answer the question.
Cyber weapons.
No, I did. I told you. I can't answer the question. He put out a 40-minute video on how.
Send the link. I could put it in the I put it in the show notes.
For sure.
Yeah, I don't know, bro. Like, that's how I see, like, to the end of this conversation. It's like, all right, cool. Today we have this problem. What's the solution? Or what's a solution for tomorrow?
The solution is
like a Muslim solution.
Yes, really understanding what AI is, right? I like Haroon basically, just understanding what it is, how it gets the information, how it gathers it. And not only that, but understand your role in AI, because you and your Gemini, you guys will actually build like a relationship where it will cater to you, right? And it will understand you and basically feed you answers in order to like please you, right? Especially because obviously companies want these to make a profit, and they want this to stay and stick around and for people to use it. So there's going to be they know that the user is going to have to like the product, otherwise no consumer, right? So what's going to happen is that once that happens, right, after you understand it, then you also have to balance, right, in a sense where like, hey, it's okay to do your own research as well, be your own ChatGPT, right? So like know that research is very important, and just also understand, just be mature, right? So whatever information you're going to get, you need to know that this information is a mixture of informations, because it can go to 50 different articles, summarize each article, mash up each summary, and feed you that answer without a works cited, right? So just really like an understanding. And I don't want to say take it as a grain of salt. I wouldn't say that, because I think for the most part it could be super beneficial and informative, and we can use it to progress individually or as a society, in a lot of different fields, in sectors, whether it's you're pursuing education, or you're trying to be good at your job, or you're a writer, right? Or you're a free thinker and you're just like, I want to see what everyone else has to say, right? For example, like you're not gonna know what AI cares so much, but AI is going to get you information on a million people that do care about this topic that you're interested in and feed you a summary of all those people that are interested in the same topic as you. So you will use AI as a tool in order to break that all down to kind of give you a brief summary and understanding, because it would take you 15 years yourself, right, to go get that information and to read articles and break it down and write it all down and then format it in a way where you can
to process it and all that good, to
yeah
process it and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of good stuff. I think maybe I'll just say one last thing. I think that, yeah, as Muslims, I'll probably have to go take a look at some of these Islamic responses. I haven't really thoroughly looked at them, but there's probably a lot that I could probably take from. But I would just say that I think what Muslims, especially from an Islamic perspective, is we can't abandon our sources. That means staying close to uh, the Quran, staying close to the teachings of our Prophet, peace be upon him, because just going into different fields and different areas and not having those spiritual foundations, not having the intellectual foundations, like this world will shatter you and break you and eat you and spit you out. So like the foundations have to be there so that we can engage with, strength and patience and perseverance. And so like I think that's going to give us the help us kind of steer through whatever turbulence, because the turbulence is guaranteed. You're going to be tested in your wealth, your children, no matter, this could become the most, it could turn into cyberpunk or something, or whatever the future is, who knows, nuclear or whatever. But at the end of the day, like there are certain things about life that remain, like the test, your in your wealth and your children and your life, you're gonna be tested with poverty and this and that, and so with sickness, and so all these are gonna come no matter how far. And this is where I kind of have an issue with these, some of these enlightenment people like Steven Pinker and whatnot. They'll be like, oh, society is just getting better. We're just getting better. Yeah, but like human nature is not going to getting better. Human nature is always nasty and it's brutish and it's rough. And there's the dunya is dystopic. I mean, we started on that. That was our first episode.
That was a good title, dude. That's one of the better episodes that we have.
That was a bomb title.
Yeah, dude.
But yeah, it's dystopic, dude. So I think we have to wa'tasimu bihablillah, and that's it.
You remember when we did a Sheikh Abdul's Bikuniya course?
Yeah.
You remember when, like, it's like in the beginning when the Sheikh, he talks about like who's considered reliable?
As in like a narrator, a transmitter?
Yeah, transmitter, narrator. Who's considered reliable?
Yeah, generally speaking, yeah.
I think about those, like every once in a while, I think about that standard.
Oh, that's a good, yeah.
Like you want an Islamic response, there you go, bro. It's a time and tested method where Hadith science just essentially even just smash like this Islamophobic, anti-religious, academic system, where the likes of like, Dr. Brown and the scholars before him, Allah, accept from them, inshallah. If it's going to start from there, and we're okay, like these things are going to work the way that they're going to work. Like even the Sharia itself, it's it's like, what are these? Sometimes they describe it as like the guardrails to life. Yeah. It's going to be there. Guardrails protect a car to a certain extent of falling off a cliff. But how many times you see a car in the ditch? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean,
if there is going to be like a Muslim response, it's like, okay, how can we establish these guardrails and create like this, like I guess even like in a bigger sense of like this ethical use of technology?
But the Sharia, the beauty of of Islamic law, is that it's able to maintain its structure and still provide us with flexibility.
Yeah.
I mean, because it can operate well no matter the context. And that's what really mainstream Islam has always showed us, mainstream scholarship, that no matter the changing times, it's like, okay, Ramadan coming up, we sight the moon. Fast when you see, when you've done the naked eye sighting of the moon. So we keep up our calendar like that. But then all of a sudden, look, you got the technology coming in, and now it's saying, look, you can do astronomical calculation. And so the Muslim community has been able to be like, look, we can adapt. This is still in the bounds of the Sharia. Yes, we were all citing it with our naked eye, but look, we can still be honest and truthful to our tradition, but we're still adapting within the realities of modern day. So I think that stuff I envision maybe coming up potentially more so with this AI, right? Like, because our community definitely has gone through these challenges of how to absorb, internalize, and really kind of work with the world as it is, right? And and then our maxims are going to come in handy, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, look,
I'm sorry, Ustad Mutnis, if you're listening.
right? But
I think there's going to be spirituality at play, from Allah. So at the same time, because Islam was perfected and completed with Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, I think we have a divine protection, you know what I mean? And we have our, I don't like to use the word rituals, but we have rituals and things that we do. As long as we stay firm on the fold of Islam and things like that, Allah will keep your heart firm, you know what I mean? And of course, if Allah's gonna choose anyone to guide, no one can misguide him, right?
Yeah.
And there's two sides to that coin. So at the same time, we also still have our traditions from the time of the Prophet, and I don't think that's going away. I don't think it's going away. So I don't want to say like, oh, just don't worry about it because we have divine protection and things like that.
No, we still gotta worry about it. Hence,
still have to worry about it.
This question.
I'm not saying don't worry about it, but there's light at the end of that tunnel. Basically, is what I'm saying. And we're also pretty smart. Like if you look at the Muslims, bro, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it, bro. We're the best at everything, except sucking. We're not the best at sucking. We're the best at everything.
That's everything good.
We have a lot to be proud about. We're the only people, bro, where we have an empire to rise and fall and rise again. No one can say that about anyone else, right? No one can say I know more about Prophet Muhammad than I do my own friends and mom. I know his life, what he used to do and how he used to do it, and how he would also advise how to do, like, all these things. He's the most reported man in history. Like our book is the literal word of God. There's no inspiration behind that. You know what I mean? Like
well, in fairness to the Christians, they say that there's also a literal word of God. That's a different conversation.
Maybe they're red text because that's what Jesus has said according to them. You know what I mean?
Nonetheless, I don't know, man. Like, I think it would be a good avenue to repackage, I guess. What was that word that you used, bro? To repackage.
Me or Haroon, right?
Repurpose
or repackage like these Islamic concepts. But I'm thinking to myself as like,
I have a lot of rewords.
Job has in me, hanging out with Salafis at the moment. My person.
You said what about Salafis?
So my job has me with a lot of Salafis at work. So now I'm thinking, like, okay, this idea, am I a person of bid'ah right now?
The president of bid'ah? What?
So am I a person of bid'ah right now because I'm proposing to repackage, like aspects of hadith science and usul hadith and whatnot?
No, you're not repackaging anything.
Because those hadiths can apply.
No, usul hadith, Nadir, meaning like the methodologies. How do you go about assessing the hadith's validity and authenticity and veracity, and if it's based on this, what about that? And all these things have been defined. I'm just saying let's use them in an AI sense, or let's use them in news, or let's use them somewhere else.
I mean, don't scholars already establish that? Like, what's da'if and
But
what's
they did it. They did. But like the thing is, how did they go about establishing that? I'm saying let's consider that in that science as we go about ethicizing. Can I say ethicizing? As we go about ethicizing the use of artificial intelligence.
I wouldn't. That's genius. That's a power play. That's actually. I would promote doing
All
that.
right, I got one vote for him. If you
that,
agree, leave a
that
comment.
requires some sort of intellect and maybe some level of genius in order to do that, because those are a very select few of people who've done that. But you can also take that I guess what you're saying is how they understood that and went about it, and apply that to this and other aspects as well too. I think that's totally fine. Actually, I find that genius. I don't know why I didn't think of that as genius as I am.
Well, partially because you didn't study Hadith, but that's not there.
Nobody that say that.
Nonetheless, because this genius, comment for this genius and approve. No, don't do that. But yeah, we appreciate y'all. Alhamdulillah. Want to take us out?
You just did. You just did.
Are you supposed to say something in like Arabic dua? Like,
wow,
that's
Well,
Are you supposed to do this?
No, like Brother Ali, the rapper, he does that at the end of his podcast. I don't know. Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
Assalamu alaikum. If you guys want to consider like reciting Surah Al-Asr, like at the end,
hold on. Is this for like the whole world? Or should I cut out this last few minutes?
I don't care. Whatever.
Matter.
It's just
we're just vibing, so
yeah.